The Angliru is a truly fearsome climb that's featured in the Vuelta a España 9 times. It's 12.5 kilometres long, has an average gradient of around 10%, but has maximum gradients over 23%. The first half of the climb is a bit more gentle, but the second half of the climb is really tough. There is a total ascent of 1,266 metres, and it is not for the faint-hearted. In the 2023 edition of the Vuelta, the Jumbo Visma team finished first, second and third on this stage at the Angliru, with Sepp Kuss retaining the red jersey and well on his way to winning the race. So how tough is this climb? Could you make it to the top? Well, in 2019, I wanted to find out for myself, so I gave it a go. My wife and I took part in a bike tour in northern Spain in 2019, watching and riding stages of the middle week of the Vuelta that year. Despite me being 192 centimetres tall and 88 kilos, I'm actually a climber and I wanted to tick the Angliru off my bucket list. The tour operator was not able to accommodate us with this wish, so after the tour finished, we hung around for a few extra days and organised the Angliru climb ourselves. Using Oviedo as a base, I had considered riding out to the Angliru climb myself, which is about 30 kilometres, doing the climb and then riding home. In hindsight, I am very glad I did not choose to do this for several reasons. First of all, I doubt I would have even found the climb, the Angliru, on my own without a car, GPS and help to navigate. Second, I wouldn't have had any photos or videos as mementos of the climb. And third, I don't think I would have had the energy to get back to the hotel afterwards. So my wife talked me into a plan B, which was far more sensible, whereby we would hire a car, we'd both drive out to the base of the Angliru, I'd get on my bike, she'd follow me up and take some photos and videos of me on the way. At the base of the climb, there's a sign saying that this is the start of the Angliru, and it shows all of the winners of past stages that have gone up there. In the village, at the bottom of the climb, I had a coffee, checked my high bike was ready to go, and prepared myself mentally. The climb starts gently enough, just meandering off into the distance. It's a nice way to settle the nerves and to get into a rhythm. The first half of the climb has some very pretty scenery through the local villages with a road passing between rural homes. The gradient soon moves into a 6 to 8% range and is already starting to feel a little bit tough, but it's just a taste of what is to come. At around the halfway point of the climb, before the really tough segments arrive, the road actually flattens out a little bit, so you get the chance to make some forward progress without having to pedal too hard. It's a moment to catch your breath before the screws really start to tighten. The second half of the climb, by comparison, is absolutely an assault on the body, and when I rode up there, I was frightened. Although the views were amazing, I had little time to take my eyes off the road in front of me, and I required full concentration. My wife was driving past me, stopping to take photos as I went past, and then she would drive past again. She told me that in this little hire car that we had, which was a manual, going around some of these really steep switchback corners, she nearly stalled the car more than once. But thankfully, because it's such a remote area, there was very little other traffic for us to be concerned about. From studying the map at the base of the climb, I knew that there was a section at 23% near to the top, and I was half dreading this part of the climb as it would be so harsh, but also looking forward to it because it meant that I'd be nearly finished. The further up I went, the steeper the road got, and the more fatigued I became. At one point, I saw a little dog in the distance. As I went past, I was just praying that it didn't come running after me, as at these gradients and with my level of tiredness, there was no chance I was going to take any evasive action. On these inclines, if I had to stop pedaling, I knew I'd probably fall straight over and there'd be absolutely no chance of getting back on the bike, recleating and riding up the road further. At near maximum heart rate, moving along at about 5 or 6 kilometers an hour, this little dog was just trotting along next to me, keeping me company, not being a nuisance at all. I waited for some human voice to call it back, as it was on an open road, but I didn't hear anything. Eventually the dog got bored, turned around, and went back home. Shortly after this, I came across some horses just lounging at the side of the road, munching on some grass. I tried to give them as wide a berth as possible as I went past them so I didn't startle them, and thankfully they just ignored me. Pretty soon, some even greater hazards came into view. On this crazy steep road, brown patches now are becoming visible. I did not know if this was just the road was wet or if the road was muddy, but when I saw the cows, I realized at least some of it was going to be cow dung. So as I am literally crawling up this road on this fierce gradient, just fast enough to keep the bike moving, keep forward momentum, I have cows and bulls standing in front of me, walking around me, and patches of mud and cow dung on the road. I knew that if I rode over any cow poo, my wheels were going to slip and I'd be finished. And I prayed that the cows would stay still as I rode past them. Dodging a little dog while on a bike is one thing, but riding around cows, navigating past cow dung on the road, all while on inclines of over 20%, was pretty unnerving. If I accidentally spooked one of these huge animals, they might charge at me. They might knock me over while they're trying to get out of my way. I was genuinely scared to ride past them. These are not the sort of issues that I am used to dealing with back home on my local roads in Adelaide, Australia, but thankfully the cows ignored me as well. Eventually the road started to flatten out and I realised that I'd made it. I'd negotiated dogs, horses, cows, bulls, mud, cow poo, ridiculous inclines. I'd kept the bike moving the whole time, hadn't zigzagged, and I hadn't stopped. So at the top of the Angliru, it's really a bit of an anticlimax. It's just a flat asphalt car park area. There's a few signs there to show that you've made it to the top. And once you've had your photo against those signs, there's not really much else to do other than to head back down the way you came. While Sepp, Kuss, Primoz Roglic and Jonas Vingegaard were racing for red up this mountain, I was really just pleased to be able to complete the ride. I would have to say that this is the toughest climb I've ever taken on by bike. If you're going to tackle it, bring your best legs.